Okay. So, are you a KSU alum?
I am, yes. I graduated from Kent State University with my undergraduate degree in 2012.
Okay.
I have a Bachelor of Science degree from here, and then I got my Master of Education degree in 2014, also from here. And then a few graduate certificates and whatnot after that. So yes, I've gone to Kent State quite a few times now for all the different things that I've wanted to do. So I've been here for almost 10 years now. So.
All right, and what is your exact job title?
Academic Diversity Outreach Coordinator for the College of Communication and Information.
Okay.
That's the long version.
What do you do? Like, if you could sum that up.
Yeah. It's always the hardest thing about my job, I think, is actually explaining what I do to other people. But basically, I'm an extra layer of student support services for things that are outside the scope of what academic advisors typically handle, outside the scope of what faculty typically handle. And we do a lot of things through our CCI diversity initiatives. So things like financial assistance requests for students who can't pay their bills for their semester or need help with tuition money, technology assistance things if students can't afford computers, or different technology rentals or different things that they need in order to be successful in their classes, scholarship programs, different things like that. But I also do a lot of stuff with faculty and staff as well, so training initiatives, better educating our faculty, our staff, and our student workers who work for the college about diversity and inclusion, and about making different populations of students feel welcome and accepted, especially while they're here at Kent State, and especially while they're here in CCI. And then I do a lot of HR type stuff, human resources type stuff as well, and I do a lot of, what else? That's probably a decent enough summary. I work with a lot of different university offices across the college, across the campus. So my job is pretty much to connect everyone within our college to all of the different things across the university and in our Kent community that could be helpful for students in our college related to a wide variety of diverse populations.
All right, and when did you start your position?
July of 2016. Okay. So it's been about a year and a half.
All right, and in your own definition, how would you define diversity? Or yes.
Yeah, sure. So here in CCI, mostly because I'm the diversity coordinator in CCI, and this is how I view diversity, we look at diversity as a very holistic, broad, comprehensive concept. So a lot of times when you talk about diversity, people automatically jump to a few very specific things, maybe race, maybe ethnicity, sometimes gender gets thrown into that conversation. LGBTQ discussions have become a lot more popular in recent years. But diversity expands way past all of those things. Of course, it includes things like race and gender and sexuality, but diversity we look at as a very holistic, comprehensive thing. Anyone has a part of that conversation. Anyone has a spot at that table whenever we're talking about diversity. Specifically with CCI diversity, we list out a couple different diverse populations that we do cater to. Students of various racial and ethnic backgrounds, of course, race and ethnicity, like we said. LGBTQ students, students of various religious and spiritual affiliations, if students are first generation, if they're the first person in their family to go to college, or if there's at any point students are having financial struggles or in some sort of financial crisis situation, we're here to help them as well. Students who are registered with student accessibility services or need any kind of accommodation in the classroom, or even students who aren't necessarily registered with SAS, but they have some sort of ability difference in some way, shape, or form. Maybe that's physical, maybe that's a learning ability, maybe that's mental health concerns, all of those different types of things. We try to help those students as well. We also cater to our military and veteran students, our non-traditional students, if they're commuters, if they're adult learners, if they're online learners, basically anyone who's part of any population, international students who might need a little extra support in the time that they're here in college. Those are the people that we want to help. Those are the people that we want to make sure that they know that they have a place here. Those are the different populations that we work to serve through CCI diversity. But again, fully comprehensive, fully holistic definition of what that word actually means. Anyone who needs anything at any point, if you're in some sort of situation where you need extra support services, to me, that's diversity. That's making you unique. That's making you stand out amongst all of your students. You need something, and we want to make sure that we're here to be able to get you that thing so that you can stay in school and so that you can be successful and so that eventually you can graduate. And so we try to keep that really holistic view in mind as we do pretty much everything through our CCI diversity initiatives.
Okay, and what sparked your interest for this kind of work?
That's a great question. I knew I wanted to go into higher education, so I knew I wanted to work for colleges and universities. And through my higher education program, my master's program, you do a series of internships, graduate assistantships, different things like that. And I dabbled in a bunch of different areas, trying to get my feet wet with different types of things. I originally started in higher ed as an academic advisor, and through advising, I had time to be able to explore a lot of other types of things that I was interested in, and eventually I realized that a lot of the things that I was interested in were diversity-related type things. I worked a lot with the LGBTQ Student Center, I worked a lot with the Women's Center on campus, I did a lot with the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And so the more and more I started to get involved in different committees and organizations and different things outside of my full-time job in academic advising, the more I realized how much I liked doing those types of things. And then it was pretty clear to me that I wanted to get into some sort of diversity-related position, whether that was specifically with one type of population or whether that was something holistic and comprehensive like we do here. I knew I wanted to get into diversity work, being queer, being diverse in some way, shape, or form myself. I know what it's like to be a marginalized population on a college campus and not feel like you have the support that you need in order to be successful. I went here at Kent State, so I was very fortunate. So I know that I had a lot of resources that a lot of students don't have, especially when they come from some sort of marginalized community. But growing up, I definitely didn't have that support. And when I came to college, I noticed how big of a difference that was. From when I was in high school to when I was in college, I noticed what a difference resources and support services can make for students, especially diverse students, because I didn't have that growing up. And so when I came here and I had that, I saw how important that was, and I knew I wanted to contribute to that effort. And so then this job opened up in the College of Communication and Information. I already worked here. I was an academic advisor here in CCI. And then when this job opened up, I was like, well, look at that. That's interesting. And I applied for it, and I was very fortunate to get it. So
Awesome. And what is your favorite part of the job?
I love my job. I do. I love every part of it, honestly. My favorite part, I guess, one of my favorite parts would be, in general, my job is really challenging sometimes. I get a lot of the students and the different things. If people end up in my office for some reason, it's because they probably couldn't get what they needed in the 500 other places they went to before my office, right? And so I'm kind of that last stop shop for people to see if there's just any last minute things that we could possibly help students with or help faculty and staff with, whatever the situation is. So usually if they end up in my office, it's because it's that sort of last ditch effort. And I can't help everybody, and that's the bummer part. You can. There you go.
Okay.
It's okay. It's motion activated. And so that's the bummer, is that I can't always help everybody. But the best part of my job is when there's a really difficult situation and I know that this student has talked to 500 other people and they haven't been able to find any sort of solution for this person, and then they come to me and I work on some things and we're able to find a solution for them and we're able to fix whatever the problem was, right? Maybe it's tuition money, maybe it's scholarship stuff, maybe it's technology assistant, whatever it is, right? Maybe it's roommate disagreements. I've dealt with a lot of that kind of stuff where students who are in different diverse populations have a roommate who doesn't necessarily agree or get along really well with them because of who they are or whatever it is. And so being able to fix those types of situations, knowing that a student came to me and was pretty much defeated at that point, saying like, ah, crap, like the 500 other people who I went to didn't help, what are you going to do different that's actually going to be able to help my situation? When I can actually help in that situation and make it a little bit better, that's definitely the most rewarding part of my job. And that's definitely what keeps me going. Even with all the ones that I can't help sometimes, there just isn't a solution to whatever the problem is. Those ones that we can fix definitely keep me going from day to day. So,
All right, awesome. And can you tell us about your diversity newsletter a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So, when I started in this position, we started a CCI diversity newsletter. It was pretty rough around the edges the first year as I was just kind of getting used to everything. But basically what I do with the newsletter is I'm on about 10 different newsletter listservs throughout the university. So I get newsletters from all of these different offices, all of these different places that are related to diversity. I take all of that information from all of those different newsletters and I highlight the biggest events. I can't highlight everything because the newsletter would be 20 pages long, but I highlight the big major events out of each and every one of the newsletters that I do get, and I stick them into a CCI diversity newsletter, which is distributed to all faculty and staff throughout the college, and it's also distributed to students who sign up to receive the CCI diversity newsletter. We just really started the student aspect of it this year. Last year, I'd sent it out to faculty and staff and had them share it with their students if they were comfortable and if they were able to do that. This year, we decided to start signing students up for the newsletter so that they could get it directly to their email as well. So we don't have a ton of people on the listserv, only a couple hundred right now, and it's mostly freshmen because I go into the first year experience classes and I get people to sign up that way. And so pretty much over the years, as we get all the new freshmen kind of to sign up that way, eventually there'll be a majority of students, hopefully, in the college who are actually receiving that newsletter. But it's just a highlight of the different events that are going on campus. And we try to keep it that very holistic, broad, comprehensive sense, right? So I try to highlight a wide variety of different types of events and activities that are going on to make sure that we're highlighting that commitment to that comprehensive definition of diversity.
All right, and you already answered that one. Can you just, for the camera, just say where your office is located?
Sure. I'm on the third floor of the library. And 310K technically is my office number, but you'll see big signs that say CCI Diversity. But third floor of the library, right next to the dean's office suite.
Okay, and how would you explain the diversity on campus?
I think that we're a pretty liberal campus in general. I think that we're a pretty open and accepting campus in general. Some populations have an easier time than others, I think, on our campus. And I think that we have a commitment to diversity here at Kent State. But we're not nearly as diverse here at Kent State as, we could be. Our people say, oh, Kent State's so diverse. Like, yeah, we do have a decent amount of diversity here, but I mean, if you look at our statistics, we don't have nearly as much diversity as what we really could or what we really should have here. And I think some populations have an easier time than others. I think there's a lot of support and resources for LGBTQ students on campus. We've had a very concerted effort toward that movement. It's not perfect, obviously, but I think that we have a lot of resources and support services for LGBTQ students. Students of color, I think that there are a lot of resources and different things that exist for students of color, but I don't know how well we are able to get students to actually engage with those resources, engage with those opportunities to connect with the community and connect with Kent State in general. And I know that a lot of our students of color will say that we have a lot of racial tensions still here on campus, which I can't argue against. Being white, obviously, I don't experience those things, but it does not surprise me that our students of color report that there are still racial tensions and they still have issues with racism and with discrimination on campus. Again, not everywhere, right? I would like to think that the majority of places on campus are welcoming and accepting, but I mean, we get students from all over the country, all over the world, especially our international students. I know a lot of them, especially from countries that are majority Muslim populations, they come to campus and they do get discriminated against. They do feel harassment. They do get bombarded with questions or with, let me tell you about Jesus type of conversations. And it's like, okay, that's great that you want to share your message, but not in such a targeted way that you're only targeting Muslim students on campus, right? And so it's one of those things that I think that we have a lot of diversity on campus, but there's still a lot of work that we could do to make it more inclusive. I think that there's a difference between diversity and inclusion. Diversity is recognizing the differences and what makes all of us unique and appreciating those differences. Inclusion is actually figuring out a way to all coexist together, right, in a productive and positive way. And I think that we're still working on those types of things. I think that we have a lot of support services and resources that are available, but as far as helping students interact with one another in the best and most positive and affirming ways, I think that's where we could definitely help move the needle a little bit, if that makes sense. Faculty and staff, I think, do a really good job of making sure students feel comfortable, at least mostly, But I think that students interacting with other students is the area where we really need to help better educate people, at least on how to agree to disagree, or at least on how to appreciate one another for their differences and not necessarily discriminate or anything like that because of those differences.
Okay. And hold on one second. I just want to check. Yes, sometimes it shuts off after like 20 minutes.
Good.
Yeah. Do you work directly with any organizations on campus?
No, not technically. I do a lot of work with a bunch of different organizations, like student organizations, especially here in CCI. We have a million different student organizations in CCI. We have student media here in CCI. And so I always work collaboratively with a lot of different organizations, but there's no specific organizations that are directly linked to CCI diversity. We do have a CCI diversity team, which really isn't an organization, but it's a group of faculty, staff, and students across the college who volunteered to basically just help me with the diversity stuff. I'm the only person in our office who does the work that I do for the college, and so it helps to have some volunteers who are willing to contribute to those efforts and help plan events and help plan activities and help us move forward with some of the initiatives that we have in the college to create that more welcoming and inclusive environment. So I do have that team of people, but no necessarily student organizations or anything like that that directly work with CCI diversity.
All right. Are you currently planning or helping with any big events on campus or nearby?
Yeah, so tomorrow, look at that. Tomorrow on the 28th is CCI Gives Big. Tomorrow's Giving Tuesday, which is something that we celebrate every year around Thanksgiving time, all across the country, really. But Giving Tuesday is all about fundraising and donations and going toward good causes. This year, CCI focused on our Student Media Fund and our First Passport Fund. So our Student Media Fund obviously helps student media organizations. That one's pretty self-explanatory. And our First Passport Fund is a fund that we use to help students in need obtain their first passport if that is a barrier for them as far as studying abroad is concerned. So students who want to study abroad but are having trouble with the financial aspects of it, they can apply for a first passport out of the First Passport Fund and they'll get a passport for free. And then that way it's at least one less thing that they have to worry about when it comes to trying to study abroad. We have a big commitment to global efforts in our college as well. So it's something that we all hold very close and we all think is very important for students to engage in. We want to make that process as easy as possible for people. So tomorrow is CCI Gives Big, which is an opportunity for students and faculty and staff to come and interact with some of the college people. I'll be there all day doing the craft table. There's crafts. It's going to be awesome. We're making holiday crafts for Akron Children's Hospital. We're making thank you cards for donors who donated to CCI during this Giving Tuesday thing. We're making thank you cards for donors, for people who have given money during this Giving Tuesday thing. And we're also doing like a selfie station and different things. There'll be pizza, there'll be donuts, there'll be all kinds of stuff. But I'm helping out with that event because it's a college-wide sort of thing. So those of us in the dean's office typically all get together to help out with these types of things. And also I'm in charge of the craft table. So that's my sort of responsibility.
Right, and this one is a little different. It's about your tattoo, actually.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you just explain it a little bit, like why you got it, maybe?
Sure, yeah. So it says diversity is beautiful. And I got it maybe a couple months after I got this job. I knew that I wanted to get a job in diversity. I knew that diversity was something really important to me. And I knew that I wanted to get some sort of tattoo that represented that commitment to diversity because I knew that that's really what I wanted to do with my career and what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so once I got this diversity coordinator position, about a month or two later, this was sort of my congratulations to myself for getting my diversity coordinator position and getting the Diversity is Beautiful tattoo. Yeah, I figured it was appropriate for the job, which is also nice. But it's something that I had been wanting, and it was kind of a personal challenge to myself, I guess. Like, okay, well, you can't get the diversity tattoo until you get a diversity job. And so then when I got it, I finally went in and got the tattoo. So
It's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you,
I really
yeah.
love it.
thank you. Yeah, my artist designed it herself. So I was just like, I want to say diversity is beautiful. She was like, okay, and then she just went with it. So
She did a really good job.
thank you. Yeah, no, I love it. So it was my reward for finally getting that diversity job. I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and get the tattoo finally.
All right, and my last question is, what message or messages do you hope to spread throughout through your work?
Yeah. I think that comprehensive, I harp on it all the time. I say it 3,000 times in every interview, but that comprehensive, holistic idea of what diversity actually is. So often when I talk about diversity, people automatically assume either I'm talking about race, because that's immediately where people's minds go to when we talk about diversity, or because I'm queer, they immediately think that I'm talking just about queer things or trans things or whatever it may be, the LGBTQ community in some way, shape, or form. And what I want people to understand is that the true meaning of diversity, at least to me, is everyone being at the table, everyone having a part in that conversation. The straightest, whitest, manliest male person, who is the majority population in every sense of the word, still has a spot at that table. We need everyone to be part of that conversation for it to really be an effective and worthwhile conversation about diversity and about inclusion. And I find that when I talk about diversity, when I say it's a diversity office, there are so many people who just automatically assume, well, that place isn't for me. That conversation isn't for me. I'm not diverse. I don't belong there. And my message is, yes, you do. You absolutely belong there. Everyone belongs in that conversation. We all need to work together, regardless of how we identify, regardless of what our background is. Every race, every gender, every sexuality, every religion, every ability, we need to work together to really have that diverse community and to really promote inclusion to the fullest extent.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure.